The vast black expanse of space was dotted with the lights of countless stars, but it was a planet Solara that held the galaxy's attention. Suspended in the void like a jewel, its surface was a testament to a once thriving civilization, now reduced to ruins, its once great cities now buried beneath the shifting sands of time. In the heart of Solara's ancient capital, a broken arena stood, half sunken into the ground, where generations of battles had been fought. This was where humanity's final hope was to be tested. In the ruins of their greatest empire, the last human queen would rise. The 3 moons of Solara hung like silent witnesses above the desolate arena. Their pale light cast eerie shadows across the crumbling stone, a perfect backdrop for the arrival of the queen. A low hum vibrated through the air, the sound of alien ships descending from above, their hulls reflecting the fractured skyline. The spectators gathered from across the galaxy were an odd blend of creatures. Their skin hues ranged from luminescent blues to deep obsidian, their eyes glistening with cold curiosity. The crowd's murmurs were an odd mix of anticipation and disbelief. The Zalorians, with their cloaked, skeletal frames, muttered in soft, clicking tones. Zothrans, whose minds could send ripples through time itself, exchanged wary glances. Every species in the galaxy had gathered, not only to witness the coronation of Arya Valen, the last of humanity, but to see if she could truly defy their expectations. Above them, a massive hologram flickered, projecting her face, youthful and scarred, into the sky. Her eyes locked with the crowd, cold and determined. The message was clear. She had come not to rule, but to fight for humanity's place among the stars. Suddenly, the ground rumbled. A ship, no larger than a fighter, cut through the air, its engines glowing with fierce blue energy. As it landed with a deafening crash near the broken arena, the dust swirled, settling in an eerie silence. The gates of the arena slowly parted, the creaking of ancient metal echoing through the air. Out of the shadows stepped Arya Valen, human queen of the last surviving dynasty, wearing the worn remnants of her battle armor. The crowd froze. She was not the ruler they had expected, nor the leader they had hoped for. The unpredictable, the rebellious, the untamed, the humans had always been seen as wild, chaotic, and now she stood as their champion. The queen's gaze was steady, unwavering. No one had ever expected a human to make it this far, not in this galaxy of ancient empires and legendary warriors. The tension in the air was palpable. What would the last human queen do next? Would she fight for peace? Or would she ignite the flames of war? The stakes couldn't be higher. The fate of not just humanity, but the galaxy itself, hung in the balance, and Arya Valen was just getting started. The Star Court was bustling with alien dignitaries, warriors, and scholars, all gathered in anticipation of a momentous event. The Zalorian monarchs stood in regal silence, their long, skeletal fingers gently stroking the edges of their jeweled robes. The towering Xenavarians moved like liquid metal, calculating every step, while the Jord, a race of silent telepaths, conversed in the air with soft pulses of energy. Yet, amidst the polished elegance of these ancient beings, one figure stood out like a sore thumb. Arya Valen, the last human queen, wasn't here to impress anyone with her appearance or lineage. She had no ceremonial robes, no ancient traditions to follow. Instead, she wore a simple black jacket over a battle-worn vest, the fabric faded and frayed from years of travel and conflict. Her hair, pulled back in a messy bun, was streaked with dirt and sweat, and there was a slight, defiant glint in her eyes that hinted at her rebellious spirit. She didn't belong in this place. She didn't belong in this galaxy of perfection and ancient power, where the others meditated, refined their weapons, and studied their opponent's every move. Arya walked into the preparation chamber with a coffee mug in hand, sipping casually as if she were in a local cafe and not standing at the brink of a cosmic showdown. Her confident, yet laid-back demeanor caused more than a few raised brows among the seasoned warriors who surrounded her. A Zothran noble, his silver skin shimmering in the dim light, watched her with a mix of confusion and disdain. "A human here," he whispered to his companion, his voice telepathically amplified for all to hear. Arya's response was simple, a wry smile forming on her lips. "Yep, just your average human here to spoil your fancy little gathering. What's the deal with all the brooding? Can't we have a little fun with this?" The silence that followed her words was deafening. Arya took another sip of her coffee and nonchalantly kicked a piece of debris off the floor. As she glanced around, she caught the eyes of a few alien warriors who were sizing her up, clearly expecting some kind of humble behavior. She tilted her head, her grin widening. All right, she said, raising her hands in mock surrender. Let's get this over with. But if anyone needs help with their weapons, I'm pretty good with a blaster. She tossed a casual wink toward a nearby Xenavarian, whose only response was a baffled blink. This human, with her untamed energy, fearless defiance, and unconventional attitude, was about to challenge an entire galaxy of warriors who had dedicated centuries to their crafts. Her human quirks, her lack of reverence, her refusal to conform to the expectations of the galaxy's elite, made her a wild card, one that no one quite knew how to handle. Arya Valen wasn't here to play by anyone's rules. She was here to break them. The rite of dominion wasn't just a test of strength. It was a sacred ritual, held once every galactic cycle. It determined who would hold influence over the stellar concord, the interstellar alliance that governed the fate of entire civilizations. This year, for the first time in millennia, a human had been admitted, and not just any human. A queen, the last of her kind. Arya Valen stood on the edge of the platform overlooking the chasm of challenges, a vast arena carved into the core of a hollow moon. Each level of the chasm held a unique trial, mental, physical, or spiritual, designed by different species over the ages. None had ever been completed by a single being. Across from her, in full ceremonial armor, stood High Lord Vaker the Zeruan, a living legend, a master of ancient combat forms. His armor bore the scars of centuries-old wars. He had never known defeat. His people believed he was chosen by the stars themselves, disciplined, ruthless, and bound to tradition like steel to magnetism. He looked at Arya like one might examine a smudge on a mirror. A human queen? Vaker's voice echoed, distorted by the translator, node on his chest. This is not a game. Outsider. Your world fell because it lacked order. We will not let chaos wear a crown. Arya gave a mock bow, hand over heart. Appreciate the concern, Lord Eyeliner. But I'm not here to impress your empire. I'm here to burn down your assumptions. Above them, the judges, an ancient triad of species so old they no longer had names, watched in silence. And throughout the galaxy, feeds lit up with disbelief. Humans were extinct in most records, their history archived and forgotten. To see one alive, and challenging Vaker, was laughable to most. Betting pools across the net listed Arya's odds as 0:1. Place bet only if intoxicated. The odds were impossible, the stakes immense. But Arya wasn't concerned. She had already survived extinction. Now she was going to make the galaxy remember who the hell humans were. In the dimly lit prep chamber beneath the arena, alien competitors engaged in intense pre-battle rituals. One levitated in absolute stillness, wrapped in rings of plasma meditation. Another sang in ultrasonic frequencies that vibrated the very air. High Lord Vaker stood statue still, mentally syncing with ancient Zeruan battle algorithms encoded in his neural core. And then there was Queen Arya Valen. She was lying on her back, on a yoga mat, wearing mismatched socks. A thumping bass line echoed off the metallic walls from a portable speaker beside her. She stretched lazily, humming along to an ancient Earth song no one else recognized. Her hair was in a messy braid, her armor half-assembled, her face calm, bored, unimpressed. A spindly diplomat from the Terran Collective approached nervously. Your Highness, are you meditating? Technically, I'm doing corpse pose. Look it up, she said without opening her eyes. He blinked. Literally, all 12 of the stalk eyes fluttered at once, and scuttled away. From the corner, Vaker watched her with barely concealed disdain. She mocks the right, he muttered. No, said a cloaked observer behind him. She redefines it. As the prep signal sounded and others began final diagnostics of weapons and shields, Arya stood, cracked her neck, and popped a gum bubble. Okay, she grinned. Let's go break something sacred. Even the monitors seemed to glitch as the system tried to categorize her combat type. Result, unknown. Error, recalibrating. She was chaos in a war of perfection. And chaos was dangerously human. The crowd roared across a dozen frequencies as Queen Arya Valen stepped into her first trial, the Gauntlet of Echoed Minds, a mental duel designed by the neuromancers of Threll. Her opponent was a being composed entirely of light and memory, Solid the Unspoken, undefeated master of psychic warfare, whose mere gaze had once driven a senator into a 7-year silence. The arena darkened. A pulse of energy hit Arya's mind like a wave. "Relive your worst day," whispered a voice in her head. "Break under it." The crowd watched the neural display light up with Solidus projections. Images of fire, of Earth's fall, of screams through static. But then it changed. Suddenly, Arya's thoughts shifted to a memory of her trying to microwave a burrito with the foil still on. The screen glitched. Solid stuttered mid-attack. This is not pain." "Nope," Arya said aloud. "It's lunch, and I was very hungry." She tilted her head and mentally shoved back, launching a tidal wave of sarcasm and pop music at Solid's essence. Taylor Swift lyrics merged with tax forms and fragments of cat videos. Solid flickered, wavered, then fizzled into unconsciousness. The next trial was physical. The Furnace Steps, a multi-gravity obstacle course crawling with heat-based constructs. Her opponent, Gractharn, was a boulder-sized war beast with molten fists. Arya showed up with a water bottle, thermal gel on her face, and a sarcastic t-shirt that read, "My planet blew up and all I got was this lousy crown." Midway through the trial, as Gractharn prepared to launch a seismic stomp, Arya casually tossed her water bottle at a weak point in the track structure. It short-circuited a gravity node and sent Gractharn tumbling into a heap of flaming wreckage. From the commentary booth, one alien analyst muttered, Is she winning with improvisation?" "No," another said grimly. "She's winning with being human." The galaxy couldn't believe what it was witnessing. Arya wasn't the strongest, smartest, or most skilled. She was just unpredictable, unruly, unshakable, and every wind shook the very foundation of the right. High above the trials, in the obsidian halls of Strategium, Overlord Varix stood motionless, watching the footage replay on a dozen holoscreens. A creature of order and legacy, his skeletal frame glowed faintly beneath layers of ceremonial armor etched with every victory his lineage had claimed for 5 millennia. He watched as Arya Valen, a species he had once filed under extinct and inefficient, tossed aside centuries of carefully honed rituals like party decorations. She was laughing. Again, in the gauntlet of echoed minds. "Emotion as a shield, randomness as a sword," he murmured. One of his advisors, a silicon-formed tactician named Calyx, leaned forward. "Shall I begin drafting her failure scenario, my lord?" Varix did not answer immediately. He studied Arya's improvised victories, her disarming confidence, her refusal to kneel. "No," he said at last, voice like crushed glass. "We do not draft failure scenarios for anomalies." "She's human," Calyx replied, puzzled. "That is the failure scenario." Varix's violet eyes flared. "She is not the human we erased," he said coldly. "She is what we forgot to fear." He waved his hand, and the screen shifted to Arya's next match, one she wasn't supposed to survive. But Varix knew better. "She doesn't bend because she doesn't know where the rules begin," he whispered. "She is contagion with a crown." And for the first time in centuries, the overlord of 1,000 star systems felt something unexpected tighten in his core. Doubt. The arena's pulse grid flickered once, twice, before stabilizing, as if even the ancient tech sensed something off-script was unfolding. Across the 10 moons of the Varellan circuit, millions of spectators leaned forward, breath caught, as the name Arya Valen blinked into the final bracket. In the Royal Observation Chamber, ambassadors exchanged uneasy glances. Whispers curled like smoke. A human in the finals? She has no neural implants. She survived a mind labyrinth using intuition? She laughed during a quantum fracture trial. On betting networks, numbers crashed, odds recalculated, then collapsed again, algorithms unable to map her next move. The galaxy's most advanced prediction AI issued a warning it had never used before. Probability anomaly. Strategic outlier detected. Down below, Arya adjusted her wrist straps like she was prepping for a sparring match back home. Not a galactic death duel. No armor. No entourage. Just a smirk and a braid woven with a single Earth insignia. Burnt bronze, battered, proud. A Harnock battle sage muttered from the sidelines. She doesn't play to win. She plays like she already did. And at the heart of it all, as her name echoed through space and history, the message was clear. The game wasn't just changing. She was a change. The arena dimmed, replaced by starlight projected from all corners of the galaxy. Floating platforms arranged themselves into a battleground of shifting gravity wells and time fracture zones, an environment only the most elite could navigate. The Colosseum of Tkarjan had seen blood, glory, and history carved into its atmosphere. It floated at the heart of the Orion Nexus, tethered to nothing, resonating with every victory and defeat that echoed through its ancient stones. From the observation decks, thousands of alien spectators peered in, each species seeing a different spectral wavelength of light. Their cheers came in chirps, pulses, roars, even emotion-based pheromone blasts. All were focused on the center platform. On one end stood Arya Valen, unarmored, expression calm, her fingers tapping a silent rhythm on her hip. No visible weapon, no shielding, just an old Earth military jacket draped over her shoulders and a strand of light pulsing at her wrist like a heartbeat. She was the last human registered in the Intergalactic Combat Registry. A curiosity to some, a joke to many, a threat to very few. Until now, across from her towered commander Kitharex, forged in centuries of tradition and augmented warfare. 6 limbs, obsidian plating, and eyes that glowed with predictive combat AI. He represented the Elsri Dominion, a civilization that considered perfection the bare minimum. His name was etched into 112 known combat halls. He bowed stiffly, more out of code than respect. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice a vibration that cut through dimensions. Arya stretched like she'd just woken up from a nap. That's what they all said. Right before I outthought them, outfought them, or outweirded them. Laughter erupted from a section of the stands occupied by sentient gas clouds. Even the stone-faced Arbiter, 19, a mechanoid judge designed to suppress bias, flickered with what might have been a hint of amusement. The match began. The gravity dropped, spiked, twisted. Platforms shifted into a mosaic of lethal possibilities. Kitharex launched first, a flurry of dimensional slices meant to fracture her movements into lagging echoes. Arya sidestepped with an almost casual grace, timing her breath with the waves of unstable reality. He unleashed a sonic disruptor, tuned precisely to the human cerebral cortex. Any ordinary soldier would have collapsed. Arya grinned. She reached into her pocket and slapped an old-school music chip into her neural band. A crackling jazz rhythm filled the air, cutting through Kitharex's calculated assault like a vibro blade through silk. She danced. Not fought, not countered, danced. Her moves were unpredictable, almost nonsensical. She twirled through gravity voids, rolled over time fractures, and occasionally shouted bizarre phrases like, "This one for Tuesday," as she flipped over plasma spikes. The crowd oscillated between awe and sheer disbelief. Kitharex recalibrated. His predictive matrix began redrawing battle strategies every millisecond. Arya was already inside his rhythm, mocking it. He charged a graviton burst. A direct hit could disintegrate atoms. Arya vanished. She reappeared behind him, balancing on a narrow platform that had just spun out of existence and back again. She whistled. "Bit heavy on the grav, huh? Maybe work on your subtlety." The commander's jaw flexed. He was built to adapt, but nothing in his long existence had prepared him for this kind of war. Then came the twist. From her jacket, Arya pulled out a relic, not a weapon, a battered deck of playing cards, earth-made, edges frayed with time. She tossed one, the queen of spades, into the air. It spun lazily. When it hit the energy matrix above the field, the entire grid hiccuped. Static, feedback, predictive overlays blinked into error messages. Kitharex staggered. "Chaos," she said, pulling another card. "Doesn't ask permission." He launched his final assault. A full-frontal energy storm powered by compressed antimatter and the fury of 1,000 simulated wars. The battlefield twisted. Platform shattered. Time staggered. And still, she moved. Not just through space, but through narrative. She had hacked the story. Her analog interference had corrupted the digital warfare interface. The Queen of Spades hovered above, pulsing with quantum uncertainty. Kithyrex's system screamed in protest. His AI suggested retreat. His honor did not allow it. Arya tapped the insignia on her jacket. A hidden sequence activated, one she had written into the Colosseum's forgotten root code months ago. The platform beneath Kithyrex blinked out of existence. He fell through the layers of gravity like a crashing comet. The silence was deafening. Spectators of all kinds sat motionless. Light beings dimmed. Tentacled diplomats froze mid-ink burst. Even the judges paused. Arya stood alone. Her hair flicked in artificial wind. Her heart's rhythm, steady. She did not roar in victory. She did not raise her fists. She walked calmly to the edge of the platform, plucked the Queen of Spades in the air, and tucked it back into her deck. In the stands, a child of the Lysari turned to their elder. Was that part of the tradition? The elder did not answer. Later, the judges would meet. Dozens of worlds would question the outcome. Some would argue that her win was illegitimate. Others would call it evolution. Arya sat alone in the victor's chamber, legs crossed, sipping from a thermos. The door slid open. A reporter from the Galactic Herald stepped inside, visibly nervous. Queen Valen, may I ask, what do you think this means for humanity? She took a long sip. Means they better get used to wild cards. The galaxy would never be the same. The arena lights faded to a low hum, starlight projections retreating into silence. Where once floated chaos and wartech, only drifting fragments of broken protocols and scorched platforms remained. Arya stood unmoving, boots grounded on a slab of shimmering alloy. The old Earth military jacket fluttered in a quiet breeze fabricated by the environmental system, still active, still confused. Her eyes, fierce but unreadable, scanned the stunned crowd of diplomats, warriors, and monarchs of species who had long written off humanity as a footnote. Some of them stood. Others knelt. A few simply stared, too old, too proud to admit their empires had just witnessed an impossible act. Behind her, Kithyrex lay suspended in a stasis field, disarmed not just physically, but ideologically. His predictive AI flickered as it tried to reconcile what had happened, how randomness, instinct, and jazz had undone centuries of military perfection. Arya's voice carried through the hushed chamber. You build a galaxy on rules. But rules rot when no one questions them. A young, coral-skinned ambassador from the Lithari clutched his council slate. Your tactics, they defy logic. Logic's useful, Arya said, wiping a smear of oil from her cheek with the corner of her jacket. But it's not alive. I am. Silence again. Then, from the viewing tears, someone clapped. Then another. Then hundreds more. Across the galaxy, news feeds erupted. Words like anomaly, evolution, and disruption protocol flashed across screens. The last human queen, unknown, underestimated, unbelievable, had changed the narrative. Later, as Arya walked alone to the hangar bay, she passed a row of holographic statues, commanders and champions, etched in glory. None of them smiled. She paused at the end of the row and looked at her reflection in the dark glass of her ship. The deck of cards rested in her hand, a single queen of hearts visible on top. She smirked. You don't rewrite history, she said softly. You shuffle the deck. She set her coffee down. Weapon systems? B.O.B. hummed. Online-ish. On the screen, a strange craft emerged from subspace. No known federation or sovereign markings. It shimmered with a kind of gravity-bending elegance. Like reality, didn't fully know how to wrap around it. Arya leaned forward. That's not one of ours. B.O.B. agreed. Probability of it being friendly. 12%. Probability it's curious about the woman who broke the galaxy's oldest traditions. 100%. She grinned. Tell it to get in line. The ship broadcast a signal. A sequence of sounds. Notes arranged not unlike a question. B.O.B. translated. They want to talk. Privately. Let him dock. Elsewhere, in the high councils of Threxian space, entire armadas have been put on alert. The Sovereign Archive had updated its hierarchy of galactic threats. For the first time in 3,000 years, something unquantified was added to the top. Threat level, unknown. Designation, Aria Valen. Classification, human variable chaos tier. Status, active, in a hidden observatory orbiting a neutron star. Scholars debated if Aria's analog interference was replicable. One whisper of Earth's forgotten technologies, vinyl records, VHS tapes, handwritten poetry, as weapons. Another suggested jazz might be a form of encoded warfare. A third merely nodded. It's not the tools. It's the refusal to think like us. Back on the ship, the docking bay hissed open. From the alien craft emerged a single envoy. Their bodies shimmered with fluid geometry, ever shifting, impossible to anchor. They bowed with emotion outside standard physics. "You are Aria Valen," they said, "the queen who upturned the game." She tilted her head. "Depends who's asking. We are from the archive beyond silence. We study endings. And you," they paused, "may have ended the age of calculation." Aria chuckled. "That sounds exhausting." "Quite the opposite," the envoy replied. "It means beginnings are possible again." They extended something, not a weapon, not a document, but a map. It showed a region of space cloaked from known sensors, a place whispered about in star pilot taverns and outlaw algorithms. The Fringe constellation. Aria studied it. "What's out there?" The envoy's expression flickered through galaxies. "Other games, other rulers, perhaps even others like you. Galactic broadcast, unauthorized transmission intercepted. A message pinged through the back doors of every major network. It was short, no encryption, no introduction. From Valen, turns out breaking the rules wasn't the end. It was a warm-up. Headed to the Fringe. Anyone out there still playing by old rules? Don't wait up. Humanity just remembered how to improvise. B.O.B. chimed as the ship accelerated into the unknown. Destination, Fringe constellation. Probability of trouble, 147%. Aria smirked. "Good. I was getting bored." And with that, the last human queen, breaker of codes and igniter of chaos, vanished into the deep. Whatever came next would not be written in clean lines or bound by protocol. It would be messy, unpredictable, human, and the galaxy wasn't ready.